Welcome to Zombocom. Hello?
Hello.
What are you doing, Todd?
Oh, I went and muted all the channels, but then I muted the one where you guys were talking.
Jeez.
Yeah. I'm having some technical difficulties today.
Technical. Yes.
Great.
Yeah, sorry. Did
That's
we start
okay.
over?
Nah, we just keep going.
Was I
Keep
supposed
going.
to say fast Fred or something?
Yeah. I'm Sean Geek, and you are.
Fast Fred.
And we're here making fools of ourselves yet again for another week.
Yeah.
And this week, we have a guest yet again. First time ever. Who do we have? Introduce yourself, my dear lady.
I'm Ruby, and I have a podcast here in Winnipeg called Living Through Extinction. So we're here to talk about nerdy stuff today.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no serious topics today. But I'm a big fan of the show. I've wanted you on the show for a while. I've been too chicken shit to ask you on because I think your show is awesome and I think you're phenomenal.
See,
and
you are.
What's that?
We're not the only ones having technical difficulties. There
we go. Oh. Yep. So I've actually I've almost asked you. Oh, here comes my dog. I've almost asked you to be on the show about like a dozen times, and then I'm like, but it's Ruby from Living Through Extinction. You're like this big celebrity to me because I think you do an amazing job.
Thank you. I just love it.
I'm sorry.
Puppy butt.
He was in. Oh no, he's out. No, he's looking for kids' toys to chew on. So this is going to be different than your show. Like we're going to actually just have some fun and kind of talk about some nerdy stuff.
Yay.
So if I had to ask you, there's a segment we used to have in the show called 5 Faces of Geek. And it was where you have 5 things you nerd out about. They don't have to necessarily be nerdy things or geeky things, but just things when you geek out on something, you just love something so much and you just like immerse yourself in it.
Yes.
Is the first one Harley Quinn?
That is my grown-up geekdom. Is Harley Quinn. I've always had a thing for the red, black, and white aesthetic, and female Jokers are sexy. I mean, I'm straight, but I can admit it. Female Jokers are sexy. And I don't know. Okay, here's the thing though. Harley Quinn initial, like original, right? This Harley Quinn. I like her appearance. So her statues are awesome and everything. But the post-Suicide Squad, where she gets her wiener dog and she owns the apartment and shit.
Yeah.
That attitude and that, like, that's the Harley Quinn I love. That's the Harley Quinn. The one who would punch the Joker in the nose before she'd kiss him.
Yes. So you do like the Harley Quinn movie then?
I'm okay with the Harley Quinn movies, but yeah, I would have rather seen, instead of Suicide Squad, more the apartment thing that they did in Long Island.
Mm-hmm.
And like where she's living with all these circus people and that's the series I really liked. Where she had the dead beaver and she was always talking about her beaver. But it was a dead rotting beaver that she just like kept.
Oh yeah. I like so Sylvia and I, when we saw, like, I obviously saw a lot of the old Batman cartoon. I don't know if Todd's familiar that's where Harley Quinn appeared the first time was on the Batman cartoon. It wasn't in the comics, it was the cartoon.
Oh.
And she was so freaking popular that they just had to put her in the comics.
Yeah, Mad Love. She was created from Mad Love. And she was, interestingly enough, I didn't know this until later, she was modeled after someone who, when I was a kid, was my favorite wacky character on a soap opera. It was The Days of Our Lives, and her name was Calliope. And she was crazy, wacky character. And as a kid, I fucking loved her. And after falling in love,
I think I know who you mean.
After falling in love with Harley, I found out like years later that Harley Quinn was totally modeled after that actress.
And you said Days of Our Lives, right? Oh my God, yes. Okay, I know exactly what you mean.
Arlene, or yeah.
Oh my
And
God. What's the actress? Arlene Sorkin.
yes, yes. And she played opposite the guy who plays Q on Star Trek now. He was Eugene. He like space traveled and shit. That was a weird soap.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. They had
Oh,
demon possession.
I watched Days of Our Lives, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, we all watched that when I was growing up. It was so weird. It wasn't a normal soap at all.
No. There was sci-fi elements in there. Just like hints of, weird things all the time.
And
You
that's
know,
not
it's
the time that something like that happened from my childhood. I later found out an adult geekdom was like totally connected. When I fell in love with the art books of Froud, Brian Froud, and started collecting them, I didn't realize that he was the one who had designed the entire movie who said I was obsessed with as a kid, and that was The Dark Crystal.
oh,
He
okay.
that and Labyrinth. He designed all that shit. In fact, his son is actually the little boy on Labyrinth being thrown around by David Bowie.
Oh, cool.
That's Brian Froud's son, yeah. But I collected all these books and then started to realize like this is the same artist who created these scenes that I was totally obsessed with as a kid. So yeah, that's
And
twice
it
that
shaped you.
my nerddoms came together, first from childhood,
That's
then
cool. That's cool. I like when that happens.
tell me if I
It,
talk too
it
much. Talk too much.
what? Talk too much? No.
I talk too much because I talk too much.
So, okay, so like that's your favorite like character like in any kind of entertainment or whatever you want to call it, like any
In media,
in media.
probably. I don't know if you've heard of the Bombshell series.
No.
That was
Right.
the series. It takes place during World War II, I believe, but it's got like all the female people from DC are in it. And
So
this is
and it's got like the
this is
pinup look of like the fifth or 40s, 50s, whatever it
later.
was.
And they're all like fighters and like Batwoman is actually like a vigilante with a bat who goes out and beats the shit out of people. And and her that's the very first series that they put her and Poison Ivy together as a
Oh, okay.
legitimate couple. They hinted at it in past comics, like if Ivy would be changing or something, Harley would be like all, oh, they'd show all the hearts and everything, but
Yeah,
they never
yeah.
had anything between them until this series. And then now, of course, in the cartoon, they're a couple and everything. And
Right. Now
yeah,
that was a comic series then? Or was it a cartoon series?
Bombshells is a comic series. Yeah. Oh, I wish they'd make a
I,
cartoon.
I
Watch
gotta
that.
make notes. This is all stuff I want to buy. I want to
Bombshells,
get into.
great series. It's really neat. It's really neat. I love it.
My current my current big love or whatever you want to call it, obsession maybe a bit, is like I Captain Britain is like one of my favorite characters of all time because he's such a fuck up. He's a horrible character. Everything is wrong with him. He's a raging alcoholic. He's a two-faced liar. He's a horrible character, but that's what's interesting about him. And they always put him with other characters that are awesome, like Nightcrawler, pure of heart, like the best in the Kitty Pryde. Like he's always paired with her, and they're always giving him shit and telling him to get his shit together, which is I don't know, I enjoy that. But anyway, the new Captain Britain is not a man anymore; it's a woman. So his sister Betsy took over the mantle of Captain Britain,
Right. Okay.
and
Is she
I'm
nicer?
like, oh, she's like 10 times better. Like, and I've always known she's always like, they're twins. The two of them are twins. And she's always been like level headed, figuring shit out, very strong woman, in all respects. And she just kicks ass. And her brother's just a wuss. Like, he's just, I don't want to be a superhero no more. It's too much work. And then Betsy, his sister's like, get your stuff together. You're the captain of the realm. You need to protect Britain. Blah, blah, blah. So eventually the mantle passes on to her. And she's like 10 times better than he ever was. Just like right out of the gate. No experience. She's just like, and it's awesome. And then now they'd hinted, I guess in the 80s, 90s, that, you know, maybe she liked girls a little bit, but they never really said anything because, well, you couldn't really,
Yeah.
you could try, but you couldn't really put it out there. So now it's like, okay, well then, so now she's dating Jean Grey's daughter, Rachel Grey, Phoenix 2 or whatever. And it's like, it's about fucking time. And it's this beautiful relationship. It's actually so organically natural, and like and I'm all for it. Like, so I've been reading, the lady who writes Catwoman has been writing Betsy for the last like couple of years, and she's awesome. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I think DC really like tested the waters to start. Like they didn't jump right in with acceptance, but they started testing the waters with little things like showing, you know, like Harley is obviously attracted to poison ivy and stuff like that, but never anything happening, never anything more than that. And then they'd kind of go a little further, and then finally they came out with bombshells and just smacked them together, and it was like, finally. Yeah.
yeah, but it probably felt organic. It was just like,
Oh,
well, yeah, of
right.
course, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
So Todd, are you for who of these characters are you familiar with? Let's get Todd in the conversation. Man on the street as you are.
Well, I've noticed, and I think we talked about this before, that a lot of the superheroes from yesteryear have been not replaced, but say the Hulk, now they have the female Hulk, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
And then
She-Hulk,
they
yeah.
have, and like you're saying with Captain Britain, now there's female Captain Britain. Like it just within this last what 10 years, would you
Mhm.
say, that
Yeah,
they've been
probably.
introducing these extra characters? And you know, and it's, and because I guess a lot of these characters were probably created by men at the time of their inception,
Yeah.
and that was just kind of the normal thing. Just kind of like back in the 50s, it was like, you know, the man worked and the woman stayed at home, and there was a certain lifestyle at that time. And as time has gone on, things have changed over time, whereas also these characters are also doing the same thing. So it's not just, you know, like now it's like, no, women can do anything they want. It's not you're not pigeonholed into one category. You can do whatever you want now, and that's being I guess projected throughout the characters and even movies that are coming out now. I mean, even television shows. I mean, and not just the gender, but ethnicity. You'll have, you
Yeah,
know,
they've done pretty good, and especially in some of the latest movies, comic movies and stuff.
yeah, a lot of the movies, yeah, like they'll put the Oriental families or black families or what, like they're all everything seems to be coming up and being more accepted than it
CBC is
was.
pretty great for those, actually. I find that when I watch a TV show on CBC, it's made up of the families that are all around me right
Oh
here,
yeah, CBC for sure.
you know,
Yeah.
and I like that. Yeah.
But it's not it. What I like though is that it's not like, hey, here's the token. No, it's just it.
Exactly.
It's just my neighborhood. Like there's like two white guys on my street, like two
Mhm.
white families on my street, and that's that. But that's the norm. Like that's the way it is. Like it's homogenized. Is that the
Yes.
word? Like it's just a blend, and I like that. And
Mhm.
I like that I'm raising my kids, and they don't know any different.
Yeah.
Like
Canada is
they're
different, you know, being in the States where it's a little more, and depending on what part of the state you're
Mhm.
in, like the further south you go, the less things are accepted, type of
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Where the farther north, and then once you get to Canada, it's like, yeah, well, everything's here. Like you want to make fun of, you know, one race, ethnicity, or gender, or whatever. I mean, we're all like a family already.
We
So
have
it's like
mhm.
it's almost like you'd be making fun of your sister, your brother, your cousin, or whatever, because you know it's just it's ingrained in our society. So
Yeah.
it's more acceptable. But it's like one of those sight unseen things. Like, is something's happening over there? I don't know what's happening over there, but I don't like it. So I don't like these people.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
unless you actually meet these people and mingle with these people and talk to them, and you know, talk about their culture and stuff. And it's more of a history You know, it depends on how you want to portray it. If you want to portray it as, I want to learn about where you're from. Like it's the same as if we're interviewing anyone, like even if yourself, like where did you grow up? Like what did you do? And it doesn't matter where you're from or what color you are or whatever. Everyone has their own experience. And it's just, you know, a lot of people they just can't get past that in their heads for some reason. Sorry, I'm just rambling.
No, that's good.
Actually really good. Podcasts have helped me with that. One in particular, it's called Risk. And I was listening to it like way back when my kids were just babies. And it opened my eyes to just people who live differently than me, because it's just stories, right? But the thing is, it could be anything. So I warn people before going in, because it could be anything to a cute little fun story to X-rated, like it can be anything. But you have people from countries that I've never heard of talking about ways of life that I would have never imagined, and describing what life is like for them, and the things that they went through. You've got people who were as kids, like brought through war zones and stuff like that, and now they're here at Risk telling their childhood stories. And of course there's all the LGBT people who, you're listening to this guy talk, and then all of a sudden he just kind of casually mentions like a dress he was wearing is, oh right, I was still presenting female at that time, and then he continues its story like it's nothing, and you realize like there are transgender people all around me. I just don't realize it. Yeah. And I have all these realizations thanks to Risk, thanks to a podcast called Risk. I swear, Risk grew me up. It grew me up a lot socially. I recommend.
Well, I was going to say, because you grew up out of town.
Yeah.
And like from what I heard from the interview with Ridgem, that some of the upbringing was a little bit sheltered, right? And it was the same thing for Todd and I. Like we were grew up in we always say Bohunk, New Brunswick. You know, this little town of like, was it 4,000 or 5,000 at the time? It was tiny, and you don't, everything is small. You don't see anything, and then once you start seeing stuff out in the world, and then all of a sudden you're like whoa, like it's, and then it's so weird. And then but when you start talking to these people, like, oh, they're just like me. Like everyone's an individual, you know. And like when I, like my best friend growing up, he had muscular dystrophy, right? So he was in a wheelchair, and I'd never seen a handicapped person before. Grade 3, he's, you know, he comes into our class, and I'm like, oh. So I walked up to him. I said, why are you sitting in a wheelchair? He goes, oh, because I can't walk. And then I looked at him and go, okay. And it was like that innocence of being a kid. You ask the question, and it's an innocent question, like, and then it's like, but then you get your answer, like, oh, okay, well, like, it doesn't matter. It's just, you're different because of this. Different is good. Different is always good. Being normal and boring is boring. You know, I'd rather have character than, you know. Anyway,
I don't think I've ever been boring, but I think that's probably why in the little religious town I grew up in, that I was kind of, you know, I read books. I always had a book. Often they were horror books with horrible pictures on the covers. So yeah, I was like pretty much labeled the town devil worshiper and shit. Because
were you being censored though at all by your family or anything like that, like for the books you were reading?
But when it came to media, there was no real such thing as censorship. When it came to me, should I admit this on a podcast? This is going to seem shocking, okay? But it was just a part of life. I grew up surrounded by naked ladies. Like, my dad had a porn issue. We had a giant landscape painting of a naked woman with a draping over her in my living room.
Oh my God, Todd.
I would
have an uncle that had that picture on his wall in his living room. Was it living room or something?
Friends come over who are like 8 years old, and you're trying to play Barbies, and all of a sudden your friend freezes, and they're like, why is there a naked woman in your living room? And what the fuck did you say to that?
And you're like, oh yeah,
it's always been there. I was
yeah, you know, like stuff like that. And we had a clawfoot tub full of magazines underneath. We had a storage thing the length of the house upstairs that I would get magazines to sell to the guys at school from. Like it was ridiculous.
And it wasn't hidden. It was all just
not a
out in
lot
the
of
open.
censoring around me.
No.
I would like we had. Did we have censoring, Todd, growing up? I'm trying to think.
Not until my dad found out about D&D. Then he had a little bit of a fit because he thought it was all demonic in there.
Whoa, okay, so you did too. So you had that. Okay, so I think you're in and around the same age as us. So I'm assuming that the whatever that Tom Hanks movie was, when that came out, was that when that pressure was like, you're not playing D&D? Was it because of that movie or no?
You know what? He was just an incredibly ignorant man. And like, he was smart. He was very smart, but he was very ignorant. And there was a lot he hadn't been exposed to. And he was hardcore Roman Catholic. Yeah. And so which I lost the ability to believe at like 9 years old. So growing up in that was kind of weird for me. You know, like I was surrounded by this stuff that I didn't understand why anyone or how anyone believed any of it. I just kind of sit there and be like, okay, this is what I got to do. You know, fake it till you make it.
And then I'm trying to remember. So I think you moved into the city, or you were going to the city a lot, right? At a certain age, just like.
As soon as I could drive, even before I could drive, I was off to the beaches.
Yeah.
And that's where I started to meet people that, you know, that I would know for a while and stuff. Cause Pine Falls people, they're all, the guys are jocks, and I don't know, it just wasn't I can't really think of anything positive about my Pine Falls peeps. There were no real Pine Falls peeps. My peeps were all at the beach, and as soon as I could drive, I was gone all the time. And then I dated the guys from the beach and stuff, and then one of them ended up being from the city, so ended up coming to the city quite a bit, and that's when I got to start going to comic shops. I'd come to the city for the weekend and go to comic stores.
The first time you went to a comic shop, describe it to me.
It was somewhere near the Town Cinema 8, somewhere within like a few blocks of there. And we went in, I don't know what street it was, but we went into a door and we went downstairs, like down these steep stairs to this big open room in the basement that was full of boxes. And I found a box full of heavy metal magazines.
Yeah.
And I went through that and got all the coolest covers that I could find. And it was awesome.
I'm trying to remember what place that was. So this would have been,
I don't know what it was called.
In your teens or whatever, right?
Late 80s, early 90s.
We moved here in what, 87, Todd?
Yeah.
But I didn't know my way around the city at all then. So I was literally just like, get off a bus and follow my boyfriend somewhere. So I could not tell you the street or anything.
Yeah.
I just knew it wasn't.
But near the town.
The town, yeah.
I'm trying to remember what was around there. Because I remember when I moved here, it was like, holy shit. Like there was a comic shop across from my school.
Ooh,
and I'm like, oh my fucking God. That was the horrible place to put a comic shop for me.
They're smart.
God. Yeah, it was
in the library.
I couldn't get any of I used to read like all the TSR books, right? Well, Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance.
Yeah.
I couldn't get any of that in Pine Falls.
God, no, probably not.
Not at all. I couldn't get any of the good magazines. I used to read Dragon Magazine and all that stuff. Couldn't get any of that in Pine Falls. Yep. I used to come to the city, and I had two places that I knew for sure would have like the kind of stuff I wanted, the figures, and I couldn't get nothing.
Yep. It was tougher when we were all younger. There was like, now there's comic book shops everywhere.
Mm-hmm. And game shops and stuff like that.
Game shops.
Yeah. I knew how to drive myself to Campaign Outfitters on Corridon.
Oh my God.
Yes. And I knew how to drive myself to Pendragon, which was downtown at the time. They eventually ended up in the North End. But I knew how to drive myself to those two places by the time I was 16. So,
I remember the first time I went into Campaign Outfitters, and I'm like, oh my fucking God. Is this for real? A gaming shop?
Yeah.
Place. I spent a lot of money there.
Oh.
A lot of money.
I spent ridiculous amounts of money there. That ended up being my place for a very long time for pretty much everything, all of our D&D stuff and a lot of my books and stuff. Like they carried what I wanted,
Yeah.
and nothing like that. That's what I tell my kid today. He can get up on a whim and like, I got to go buy a figure for this game.
Yeah.
That's our version of what our parents said to us. Like, we had to walk 10 miles in snow
Mm-hmm.
to get anywhere.
Uphill.
Kid,
Both
I
ways.
had
Uphill
to
both
fill a
ways.
day off school, a day off work. I had to put gas in my car and I had to drive
Yeah.
an hour and a half just to get to a fucking game shop. And here
Yep.
you are, I'm playing a game tonight. I need a figure to it. And off you go and you pick it up. Like,
So when I grew up, there was no comic shop where I was not even remotely close. But I remember we had a Yellow Pages for Halifax. We had I don't know if we stole it from some trip or whatever. We brought the Yellow Pages home, and it was a brand new one. And I'm flipping through, like, oh, cool stores, toy stores or whatever, because Halifax was the big city.
for
And
sure.
and there was a comic shop in Halifax. So me and my friend Richard, the guy with MD, we were like, okay, do you think we could convince your dad, like, to go, like, do a trip down to Halifax? And we planned it for like months. We're gonna drive to Halifax for the weekend. We're gonna drive all the way there. We're gonna go in the comic shop, and I was like saving all my money, and I was like selling whatever I could because I don't know, it was like probably like 8 or 10 years old, and it was a big trip, and we ran out of gas on the way, and,
No.
and then the car broke down in Halifax, and he had to pay someone to fix it on a weekend. Back then, nothing was open on weekends, right? Oh my God.
Just to get to a game store. Yep.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
re I remember
Phones
I
were
remember
amazing.
exactly what I bought too. Like it was, it's oh, it was awesome. And now it's like, yeah, just order something off Amazon or, it's just so easy. But you still have to go to the shops though. You have to go
I
to the
might
comic shops.
play at Amusing Games now. Amusing
Yeah,
Games is a nice place to go. I really,
it's
really love it.
nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they also use local artisans for like everything, right? Like those dice lights and stuff, those were all made locally.
I
They
didn't
had
know
all
that.
that done. And like all the stickers and stuff that they sell, those are all made locally, all the little dice bags
Wow.
stuff. Yeah, they're big on artisan support and big on LGBT support.
Oh, that's
So
good.
yeah, so a lot of like queer little small queer companies have their
Really?
yeah. I love them. They're awesome.
I went there for the first time because it's by where I used to live, because I used to live off on Clifton. So it was like, I wish it was there when I was there, but I was just going to game night because it's close and whatever. But I'm kind of not liking it there anymore. I don't know. I don't know. It's just, but when I went into amusing games, like, oh wow, like it felt like, welcome, come into our shop. It was very
They're
friendly.
very community oriented. Yeah, the guy
Yeah,
who owns the place is ridiculously kind. Yeah, it's just an awesome place to support,
yeah,
really. Game night, I used to go there a lot too. They're a little out of our way, whereas
yeah,
Amusing Games is nice and quick for us. But
sure.
there's some politics that's going on with game night. Um,
Yeah, I'm
because I don't know the backstory of, but it's hard for me to consider supporting them at this point until I figure out what that's all about.
I heard little bits here and there, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, and I always hate to be the person that judges emotionally.
Yeah,
I want to know what happened, or not what happened, but I want to make a proper decision or proper choice. I don't want to just be reactionary. So, well, fuck those guys.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah, that's why I wouldn't say anything because like I don't know the whole details or anything, but I do know about the people who run Amusing Games and like they're just all round good people and community supporters and everything. So I love giving them my money.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And there's also there's another local business that opened. Was it Ravens Books? It's a horror bookstore. Oh my
Oh,
God. I think it's called
really?
Ravens Books. Not to
Oh,
be
I
confused with
that back.
Ravens Toys and Collectibles, but what the
Very
hell?
cool.
But yeah, they're and very supportive, very community focused, lots of LGBTQ stuff going on there all the time. A lot of like local author pushes there, and just it's it just feels good. You see their Instagram page, and you're like, yep.
Hmm.
I don't read horror books, but I'm like, I kind of want to go just to
Yeah,
go.
yeah. It's been a while for me. What I like too with the game places like Amusement Games is the actual, like, they always seem to have stuff going on, and they always have all the demo games there that if you're curious about, you're welcome to pull it out and give it a try before you go buy
Yep.
one and stuff. And yeah, I don't know. I really like the place. It's always happy. It's a happy
Yep.
visit.
And they have an elevator, which is freaking awesome.
Do they?
It's accessible. Yeah, there's an elevator there.
Must be on the side there. I was
Yeah, it's
wondering
not
if,
right when you go in on the right, because
oh,
my friend grew up with
parking lot.
MD, right? So I'm always looking
Right.
for that, right? And it's like that, I don't know, that just impressed me.
Cool. Very cool.
So Todd, you remember that Tom Hanks movie in the 80s, that Dungeons and Dragons movie?
Tom Hanks was in a D&D movie?
I don't, Tom Hanks, I don't remember Tom
But
Hanks
it
being,
wasn't but it wasn't a movie, it was a movie about playing D&D. And it was the movie that mom watched, our mother watched, Eileen, the famous Eileen Gould. When she watched it, she's like, "Oh,
Oh
this
no.
isn't good. This isn't good at all." And me and Richard, we had gone to I don't know, Sobeys or something, and they had a TSR gaming book there. It was like, oh my God, a gaming book. We bought it not knowing how any of this worked. Like, we'd heard about Dungeons and Dragons, we'd seen it on the back of comics and stuff. There was
Mhm.
nowhere to buy anything D&D where we grew up, but they had a gaming book, and it was a Marvel superheroes role-playing game thing. And it wasn't the rule set, it was just a campaign adventure. So we made up our own rules, we opened the book, made up our own when we played. And then mom had just seen the movie with Tom Hanks in it, which was, it talked about how people can play D&D and start cults and start sacrificing people.
Oh my God. He was
Eh,
involved in something like
yeah, he
that?
was young, he was like before
I do
his
remember a horror movie called Dungeon Master that was super
oh
cheesy.
no, it wasn't that one. I know the one you mean, but that movie is what started, was one of the things. I don't know if it started, but it really lit the flame on this D&D panic with parents, that kids are doing this satanic thing and they're role playing and they become the characters, and they're going to sacrifice their friends and they're going to burn your homes down. And mom saw that movie and had heard, through the church and stuff, how D&D is a really bad thing, and she said I wasn't allowed to play that Marvel superheroes role playing game. So so Richard and I would so I go to Richard's house and his parents didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
So we just
Gotta
played
have that
there.
one friend whose parents don't give a shit. Oh my gosh.
yeah, I don't
Edmund's
remember
like,
that.
this is just a game. Of course you could play it. It's fine. You just play the game. It's fine.
Yeah,
He didn't care.
exactly. Literally just a game.
Yeah.
But you guys were
He's,
playing the superhero version of it, so it didn't say Dungeons and Dragons.
well, it did say it from the makers of or whatever was
I
on
guess.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, was this the same era when Ozzy came out with Suicide Solution? It was like, okay, well, if anybody who listens to heavy metal music,
Thinking
we're
now.
all gonna,
That
jump off.
might have been in around, because what was Ozzy, was like, what, 81, 82 when he went solo
Biting their head
ish.
off chickens or something. I don't know.
But that was,
That-
so wait, so how old was I in grade 3? So it was like grade 3 through grade 6. Yeah, that probably would have been around the 80s, early 80s, same time as Ozzy.
But movies, it's amazing how, and especially because no one was really informed. Like there was no internet, there was no other
Oh,
research. Mind you, the internet's full of bad info. Right? But normally, when you're watching a movie, when you're growing up, whether you're watching, Leave It to Beaver and saying, "Oh, well, this is the perfect family," or this is, or watching on Golden Pond, or watching, this thing with Dungeons and Dragons. People eat this stuff up and think this is reality. And when the movie makers are not, I'm not saying they're not thinking, but I mean they're definitely going to get attention, and usually good or bad attention sells movies, right?
Yeah.
mhm.
But you know, stuff like that, you kind of have to, I mean, if you look back at it now, you can laugh at it. But at the time, it's like I said, back in the 50s, you know, people were a certain way. And as, you know, time progressed, it changed. So back then, when we were watching that movie, especially if mom was watching it, but I don't think she probably watched it. She probably heard it from someone else.
Oh, she heard it from someone at church, I'm
and it's just a
sure.
gossip thing. And then you know, you have to take it as truth. It's like, you know, all the wives' tales, or all the things that mom would say to us, to say, you know, I don't know, whatever saying it was, and it came from her parents and it came from their parents, and it just kind of, you know,
Mhm.
things that weren't true, but just because your parents told you that, you take it as gospel, right? Because who do you look up to? Who do you trust when they tell you information, whether it's good or bad? So
So I was just looking it up because so the movie was called Mazes and Monsters.
That sounds really
It was 1982 made for TV movie.
fun.
Um,
rated
oh
R.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's anyway, it's worth watching as a cultural thing of the time, and all the shit that it, you know, all the shit that it stirred. It's like that Reefer Madness movie. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I have a copy of that signed by Woody Harrelson. I brought it to a smoke sesh at a thing with Woody Harrelson and
Oh
got
my
him
God. Oh my God, that's awesome.
as he narrates it, eh?
Did you ever see
But
Reefer Madness, Todd?
it's a or what it is oh sorry okay
Okay,
the
tell Todd
movie,
what this is. I don't think he's seen it.
a documentary was done about Reefer Madness, and he
Yes.
narrated that.
Yeah.
So I've got an old VHS copy that we went to a smoke sesh at a rap thing that was being done in a buddy's basement,
Mhm.
because he had a pot shop. And yeah, I specifically brought that in the Natural Born Killers VHSs with me
Nice.
and got them signed.
Wow. So
That was
this
the thing
so
back
this
then.
was narrated by Woody Harrelson?
The documentary on it was like the original Reefer Madness is literally about people like smoking and going insane.
Yeah.
And
Oh, like the fried eggs. This is your brain on drugs. Oh, now
yeah,
it's
put in
legalized.
black and white
Oh,
and old
what
timey.
happened? Something
Yeah.
happened between.
And yeah, he did a documentary on that whole thing and he kind of narrated the whole documentary and stuff. So when I got a copy of it on VHS and found out we were going to be smoking with them, I made sure to bring it with. I was the nerd asking for the
So
sign.
so wait a minute. So he was there actually smoking up with like a bunch of fans,
Well, no, it was a rap party. My
right? But he was actually there.
You know where the Town Cinema 8 is?
Of course,
There
yeah.
used to be the Hemp Rock Cafe
Okay.
across the street from it. That was my buddy's.
Oh,
And
okay, yeah.
there was Woody was there filming something or other in the area, and he'd walk by, and one day Johnny was in the window and they waved at each other because he was always looking at this hemp place. He was interested. And then he sent one of his people into the cafe one day to ask if they could have the rap party there. And
Wow.
so we did.
Shit, that's pretty cool.
In fact, Uncle Louis, the reason I got to go is because Uncle Louis went, so we all got to go. And also he was dating my best friend. Johnny's wife was my best friend at the time. And yeah, they were in the upstairs for a while with all the hemp memorabilia and stuff, and then they went downstairs, and it was just a big smoke sesh for the rest of the night, basically. And he had people coming in from the set basically all day to say goodbye, like throughout the whole evening.
Oh,
People
that's
were
cool as shit.
Everyone knew this is where he's going to be. This is where you go to say goodbye. And people would come in and hug and say goodbye, and then they'd be out. And I guess it had been their last day or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's actually really cool.
it was just super welfare party. Like it was just literally a bunch of bumpkins sitting around playing music and smoking pot. That's all it was. But
Wow.
that's what he wanted. That's all he
Yeah.
wanted. So
I'm
yeah.
trying to I wonder what movie that was now, because I remember him being in town. I can't wonder what it was for.
Would have been 2004. It was 2004.
2004. I'm sure we could look it up.
Pretty sure it was 2004.
Wow.
That was
Okay,
way
so
before it was legalized.
Oh yeah, that's yes, it was definitely illegal at the time.
they didn't sell any weed there. Of
No,
course.
it was a cafe and like it was almost like a
Yeah.
museum. They had the huge old hemp ropes from
Yeah.
the boats and stuff. And of
Yeah.
course, when Woody was there, they got him to sign a few things that they also framed and put up and stuff like that. It was just a little cafe that they like to have little punk shows in the basement, though. Like that would be when they would do something. They'd usually have a punk show in the basement. But yeah, he was filming in the area and was like, "Hey, this pot shop, let's go check it out."
So that must have been right next door to the comic shop then. That shop. I'm trying to visualize because the comic shop I went to for 20 years or 25 years was called Comics Factory. And it used to be on
Yeah, yeah.
it was right across the street from the town.
Hmm.
And I remember there being a shop next to it. I wonder if that was before he moved, because he used to be around the corner where the yellow dog tavern is or something. I can't
Like
remember.
he was like a few doors away or something like that.
He was
But
before
that
and
was
then he
in
moved.
that area, sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
I miss that comic shop. That was my favorite comic shop. To go to a comic shop for 25 years. I was
Yeah.
telling my wife, is like, I've had a longer relationship with Jared than I have with you.
Well, when Pendragon shut down, it felt kind of like that. Like I
Yeah.
used to drive to the city to go there when they were on Portage, and
Portage,
then when
yeah.
I moved to the city and we ended up in the North End, boom, they had moved to the North End.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's where we would go. It was the easiest thing to get to by bus because like we bussed everywhere. We didn't drive really back then when we first came to the city. And so yeah, it was a nice regular stop. And then one day, after years and years and years and years and years, they're just like, yeah, we're retiring. We're old. And I'm like, but
So
you,
for reference to Todd,
you.
the Pendragon, the guy who ran Pendragon and his wife, they're the ones that started KeyCon or ran KeyCon or whatever for
Oh,
about a
really?
dog's age. Yeah. Yeah. He
And they
just passed away last year.
that I didn't know.
Yeah, he
Oh,
passed away in April of last year. So they
Wow.
canceled KeyCon last year because I mean, he was big guy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I lost track of them once they sold the shop, but like they are the two that I saw every time I went to the
Yeah.
shop. They were the ones. He was the one who I could talk about new games with and find out what I wanted next and stuff. And they always, when I started going in with my kids when they were little, they'd always have like t-shirts and demos
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff to throw at them. And yeah, so when they shut down, that was one of those things like you've always been there.
The end of an era.
Yeah.
oh.
Mhm.
See, Todd doesn't know this side of the nerd culture here. We're totally nerding out here,
So
having a
this,
good time.
so where they used to have the bands in the basement, was that kind of like those underground clubs that no one knows about? And you have to have like the secret password with the knock, and then they
I
open
don't
up that
know.
little thing.
I don't know how they
Password.
got people in because I was never into crowds of that sort. Like, those punk crowds where they're all jammed in and jumping up and down. But yeah, like I'm pretty sure it was like not an openly advertised thing. It
Right.
was
They might not have had the permit for it to have music
exactly
or
like it was more through the community,
Promote.
out
Yeah.
through the community kind of thing. Yeah. But
like Todd's visual. You could slide the little thing.
that
You
would
see 2 eyes password.
I got no sticking sword.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
never went down there when that basement was full. That would have freaked me out.
Hey, so I have a question. How often do you play D&D?
Oh, I don't get to play anymore. I need to find a team. I need to find a troop. I need to start again because it's been bothering me a lot lately. I've been listening to Dungeons and Daddies and I just, remembering that it was fun and I want to do it again. So, yeah.
So who is your group? Your tribe of players? Like who are you playing with? Was it
My
was it
DM was
family
from
related or
Oh, no, no. The guys from the beaches. My DM was from Bel Air, and he was the one who had all the knowledge and all the storytelling and all the sound effects. Like he was just, like you'd hear the sword coming out. Like he made all the
nice?
he was just a really good storyteller. So his name was Mike, and he was from Bel Air. And my boyfriends from Grand Beach, Carl and Brian, I got them both into it. So once we all got together with Mike, we kind of just became this. And then Justin was from the city, Justin Valentine. I'm not quite sure when we got to know him. He was probably hanging at the beach at some point, and we met him. He used to have whole campouts at his place. I'm not don't remember where his place was, but he would like have like huge D&D meets where they all set up tents and did like
Oh,
a whole
really?
weekend long gaming thing. And
I
these,
miss those days.
when I lived with these guys and I wasn't playing as much, I was more like it was like my couple party years or whatever. When I lived with Justin and Carl, they would have like these long weekend things where people would just start showing up at our apartment. And I'd be like, why are you all showing up? Who are you people? And they were all showing up to come live in our living room for the weekend to do a
Yep.
D&D campaign. I was like, oh, thanks for the notice, y'all.
My
But
my
yeah,
buddy Mark, my buddy Mark plays. He's in 3 separate campaigns right now, and once a year he flies to Edmonton to game for a week. They
oh,
game every single day for 6 to 8 hour stretches for a week on the Christmas break.
oh,
He takes a week of vacation and he flies out. It's nuts. And this guy was running like he was running like 3 separate groups. The guy, the big GM, and he
yeah.
would run 3 groups, and then there would be a big merge where all 3 groups would play as one massive group once a year or twice a year or whatever it was, and everybody had to take vacation and come out and
Imagine
just
putting that together. Like you're right, you've got 3 stories going that you're going to
Mhm.
bring together.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's
That would
exciting.
be, yeah, that's going to be
I played in one of the groups for a while and I learned a lot from DMing. Like I thought I was pretty good, and then I played in his group like I know shit. I know nothing. This guy's amazing. And he had like when he planned a campaign, it was like this is a 20-year campaign. Buckle in. It was like
yeah,
that kind of guy. Yeah,
it's awesome.
so good. Yeah, he published some stuff too. He actually he's the guy that set me up with my first writing gig.
Oh,
It was I
nice.
was oh, that was I was really happy for that. Yeah. He
Mm,
hooked me up with the guys that some of the writers for ICE that did Rollmaster.
yeah.
He set me up with a bunch of those guys because he kind of worked for them, I guess. And he said, "Oh, you can write for them. They have a monthly newsletter." And so I was writing a serialized comic book every month. I had to submit 22 to 25 pages for 3 every month. I had 20 days to write and then 10 days for editing back and forth with the editor. And I had to do that. I did that every day or every month for like 3 years. But it
Oh,
was,
that's long-term dedication.
oh, let me tell you, it was tough.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot. But it was working with the guys from ICE, and it was like, I learned a lot of shit about gaming and about everything. It was totally worthwhile. It was fucking hard, but I'm glad I did it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've joined a group on Facebook. One of these days I'm going to put my name in the hat, where you look for groups that are ongoing. So, yeah, sometime soon I need to join a group.
See, I'd like to talk for Todd to play at some point. He just no interest. I thought maybe this would be like an intervention with you being here tonight.
I'm
It's fun to
I'm
pretend.
um to wait. It's like, okay, I'm going to do something. Roll. Okay, I'm going to do this. No, I want to do it in real time. That's why I'm so big into the video games. Like, you
Right.
need reactionary time. You need hand-eye coordination. It's not, and I don't want to think as much. It's like think on the run as you're going. You're thinking as things are happening to try and make decisions. Whereas it just seems to be too slow for me. But I think I don't want to call it ADHD, but I've got, like, for Sean reading books, he's all over that.
Hmm.
I read a book, I want to take a nap after a page. It just doesn't, it tires my eyes out, and I have to think too much, and I don't know what it's called. I may actually diagnosed, but regardless, yeah. So I mean, for a game like that, it's fine. Like maybe play once, like when we go to KeyCon and we play the board game. What was it called?
Pandemic.
Pandemic.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. But
It
for
that's it's pretty exciting too because you're like, okay, strategizing, but D&D can be like that too.
There's a slow part. Like if you've got a lot of people and you're starting a big game, your first day is a wash. Because
Yeah.
your first day, all the characters are getting made. All the characters are like they're rolling all their shit. They're figuring
Yeah.
all their starting shit. They're getting all their spells. Like the first day takes so long just to get everything ready
You
to
have to go
start.
shopping. You have to go shopping.
So yeah, I have been in the situation where it's like, oh, can we just play?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like Pandemic. There is no, you don't get your characters. They give you a card that tells you what the character is
Yes.
and whatnot. So there you go. Pick a card. Now we can start. Not like, okay, well, I was born in you know, in the south of France, and here's my history, and these were my parents, and you know, that's just too long for me. I just can't do that.
Games
And I
like
have to try to remember everyone else's.
Yeah, games like Elder Sign have cards too, where you literally just pick your character and they're all their stuff's right in front of you, and away you go. That's
Yeah.
like Elder Horror. It's the same thing, really. Elder
Yeah.
Sign, Elder Horror.
Yeah. There's a few like that, Todd, that are just here's your character. Just go.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, any game, like all the games they had there, I'm sure they're all kind of the same format. But when you're sitting down and you've got let's say a GM, and you're mapping out a game, and you don't know, and every game is probably different, because depending on the dungeon master, what he's going to put in front of you, and then you have to kind of make decisions, and depending what group you're with, some people are gung ho and they want to kill everything, and other people are very cautious, and I don't know, it sounds fun, but for me, I don't know, it just doesn't appeal to me as much as actual video game.
True. Well, I can I can understand. The game you wouldn't have had fun with, Todd. I ran when I met my wife. Um, she was a nerd. Like when I met my wife, it was awesome. It was like, oh my God, she's watching Smallville. She's watching Smallville. She's a girl. Sorry, I should say she's a woman, and she's watching Smallville. Is this for real? Like, is this a real person? Like, am I being trolled? And then like, wow. So then I was like, so then she introduced me to Buffy, and then I said, okay, have you ever heard of Dungeons and Dragons? She said, I kind of heard about it. I don't know anything about it. I'm like, okay, let's make you a character. And then so this was like, I don't know, we were dating for like 2 weeks or whatever. And I had decided that I had run a superheroes campaign. It was all in, I made the world. It was all my world. It wasn't anyone else's stuff. So it was, and I had run like 3 or 4 different groups over the years, all in the same world. And, sometimes they'd kind of, bump in like the characters. Once you retired from playing, your characters became NPCs in the world. So sometimes, they would run into someone from an old game or whatever. But anyway, I decided, okay, it was 10 years later. I'm going to cap everything off, and everybody's coming back. So I had 10 players around the table, and Sylvie,
No.
who had never played a role-playing game before. And she's like, just, oh my God, like, who are all these strangers? I don't know any of these people. And she's not like, she's not social anxiety, but takes her a little time to warm up. And she's with all these people she's never met before. And this is like 2 weeks into dating. And she's like, I'm going to take a chance. I'm going to try this D&D thing. And it was this big, like we had we call them Portuguese tables, like the social tables,
Yes.
the long plastic ones. We had 2 of those to fit everybody around the table, and the turns took forever because there's too many players. But anyway, it was a big, massive, drawn out battle in downtown Winnipeg, which is where the game took place. And they were knocking down the Richardson building and a whole bunch of stuff. And Sylvie's like, oh my God, like she was like, this is like fucking wild. She was like blown away. And then when the session ended and a whole bunch of, characters died off and bad guys were beaten and all that stuff, I said, well, I want to thank everybody for coming. This was like it was hard to put together, but I wanted to, give everybody like an ending, or, be able to sign off properly with their characters. And thanks everybody. And then good night. And then so it was like, wait, that's it? Like,
Oh no.
I played one session and I created this character that I spent 2 weeks building, and that's it. She was so mad at me. This guy's a fucking jerk. He introduces me to it and then he stops the game. What an asshole. But she's been gaming ever since. Like she's like, okay, well, when's the next thing? When's the next game? She's like, she'd never. Yeah, she played board games all along. She didn't know about this D&D stuff.
Yeah, see,
Yeah,
when I couldn't really find anyone to play D&D with anymore, I fell a lot more into board games and yeah. Honestly, that was one of the things when we had our kids is at the time we didn't have a lot of people. We had a lot big music community, but not a lot of them were into board games. Now
yep.
it's different. Now we're all playing games. But back then it was really hard to find someone. So when we were like expecting our first baby, we were like, we're going to be able to play 3-player versions of our games.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh my God. And then we had another kid and we're like, we're going to be able to play 4-player versions of our games.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Because Sylvie and I, for the longest time, because we weren't gaming or anything, we were just like, we just went down this rabbit hole of finding 2-player games. We
Hmm.
went to, oh my God, what's that place on Main Street? Across the board. Is that
Oh,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So we went there randomly on a date, and it's like, oh my God, 2-player games. There's lots of 2-player games. So we just became obsessed with anything that we could play 2 players. And then, when the kids came, it was like, oh, we can start playing stuff. Carcassonne and
Yeah.
Ticket to Ride, and some of that stuff. And I don't know. My
You
buddy,
played
when you
the ride.
Ticket to Ride, yeah,
Okay. I'm not trying to be rude, but I have to show you something. Uh, Dan Cannon, the bass player of the Dust Rhinos.
yeah.
Um, him and his family are big into games. Like our music community we
Oh,
have now is
cool.
a lot more into games. Him and his mom designed, spent a lot of time, like years on this. And then when it was ready, they got a bunch of people, as many people together as they could, because they couldn't legally sell it for money. The more we could get made, the less it was going to cost us. This is Manitoba.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So cool.
I see Portage Avenue
Isn't it awesome?
right in the
It,
center.
Oh
it's
my God.
it's got all the beaches and everything, and Pine Falls. It's got winter, like it's Manitoba Ticket to Ride.
How many did they make?
I think we got it over 60. We got to over 60. And so that brought the cost down to about $80, I think. Because if you just get one,
Wow.
it's really expensive, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So they got the board and they got the cards that have like the paths.
Yeah, yeah.
Have to have an original set for the trains. You
Okay.
need
Yeah, yeah.
so like
Well,
they
that's
even have
fine.
even in their instructions they've got a thing like to the original creators of Ticket to Ride, this was for fun, it wasn't for profit. If they even want to play it, they still need to buy your game because they need the deck of trains.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that it doesn't come with, and it doesn't even have it came with a little like as cheap as possible, right? Ticket to
Yeah,
Ride.
yeah.
And
Okay, so
yeah,
where did they go to get this printed off?
I'd have to ask them where they had it done. But yeah, him and his mom spent years on that. And it's just a couple of years ago that they finally had it all finished, ready to go. And they found a printer. And then it was just a matter of, okay, well, here's the price now. Let's get as many people as we can and see if we can bring it down. And we got one.
Well, that's how Trivial Pursuit happened, right? It was just a bunch of like that's literally what they did when they
Yep.
built it. That's how it happened. I designed a game called Zombie Town that I've been playtesting, and I'm like, okay, I think I've got all the kinks worked out. I did quite a few. Todd played one of the playtests, and I'm like, okay, I think it's ready now, but I don't even know how to go about like the whole printing side of things. When I made my comic ages ago, that was a whole fiasco that I don't think I ever want to do again. It was just, but I mean, I did my comic, I don't know, 10, no, wait, 15 years ago, maybe. But it wasn't easy to do anything back then.
Yeah,
Like,
and I mean, my company I work for does printing, but we don't do board games. So, like, I wouldn't have a clue, but I could always ask them if anyone ever wants to try something like that. I just think that it was genius. And those of us who got one, it's just fun. If you like
Oh
Ticket to
yeah,
Ride, it's just
I love
like,
Ticket to Ride.
so what do
so
you use for, like Monopoly? You've got like the dog and the hat and the thing and the car. So so the Manitoba one, is it like Winnipeg, like beaters? So you like beater cars
that would be
running
nice.
around?
No, it's just the
Trans
trains.
Am's.
Yeah, the
Camaros.
trains, that's all it is. It's exactly like the game. You just need the train cards and the trains, and then yeah, otherwise you're just playing on Manitoba basically. And there's about 68 of them, I think, that got made.
We
So
have a 3D printer at work now. That's a very bad thing.
mm,
And he's like, yeah, I'll print whatever you want. Whatever you want. Just send me the design. I'll print whatever you want. So I was
dice
thinking,
towers.
what's that?
Dice towers.
Oh, I have one being made for me right now. Actually, it's already been printed. And my other friend Dylan, who runs a D&D game, he's actually has a sponsored D&D game. He has two sponsors that pay him to run a game. I don't know how he managed to do that. But anyway, he does he's designing the dice tower, he's painting it, and then he always puts in like on the base, like he did some miniatures for me that he painted, and there's like a little thistle coming up, like little rocks on the base. And he goes into ultra detail. He's doing that with the dice tower. So he's doing based on a game and a book that I'm writing. He's doing the dice tower based
Ooh.
on that game. So it's like a plains. I'm doing an alternate Alberta history game where Alberta fucks up, and as they tend to do, and it fucks up the whole world. So I get a game set in that setting after they fucked everything up. And so he's going to do the dice tower to fit with that game, because he's like, so if I give you the dice tower, then you can keep running the game, right, Sean? I'm like, yep, yep,
Talk about super custom though. That's
yeah,
nice.
So
yeah,
what is a dice tower? You do just put the dices on top and then it rolls out onto the table?
yep.
Yes. And some are fancy and some do fancy little things.
Hmm.
And
Little
some
hoops
just
and
look
loops,
really cool.
Oh yeah.
air
Oh, this
driven.
is like uber nerd stuff,
Question
man.
there.
Yeah.
Wow.
But the guy at work, he's just like, he wants to learn how to do more 3D printing. It's his own personal one. It's not like the work one or anything, but he just pay for the plastic and or the resin or whatever, and just like anything you want, I'll make. So
That's pretty cool.
I think I'm going to design the in my Zombie Town game. There's 10 different characters, and they all have kind of different stats. And I like each character is like completely different. There is a cop, there is a bike courier, there is a nurse, there is uh, a meathead, a gym meathead guy. And so there's 10 different characters, and they all have different stats. And I've designed what they look like, so it'd be nice to have like a miniature for each sort of thing. And in the game, you're in a town that's full of zombies. They've closed the town off, and you're stuck as the survivors in this town trying to get out. So you're trying to survive the zombies and build. You have a car that's not working, so you're trying to find pieces in the town
Right.
to fix the car to get the fuck out of town. That's basically the premise.
Cool.
But yeah, it's I don't know. I want to get it done. It'd be fun. I want to do more play testing. But Sylvie's like, the way Sylvie is like, I want the final version.
Aw.
I'll play test the final version. I'm like, but you need to get to the final version. Well, then you tell me when you're done, then I'll play the final version. But it better work perfectly. That's the way she is. Like, oh,
Like the
okay.
tester, the beta tester.
Yeah. Yeah. She doesn't yeah, like if I'm like when I was learning to make different curries and stuff, I went through this curry phase where I was making my own curry powder. And it's like tried like I had a black curry, which was really cool. And then I had like a red curry and a yellow curry and a green curry. And I was like, I'd make them myself. I had a mortar and pestle, and I was grinding the cumin and stuff. And I would try it with her. I'm like, okay, try this. This is my green curry. And I was like, well, did you like test it? Like, well, no, I'm testing it with you. Like try. Well, let me know when you're done. Like, she's not a tester. She's like, I want the final product. You
Yeah,
know.
I can understand.
Well, I mean, some of it was not very good, I'll be honest, but some of it was fucking amazing. My black curry, I think that was my specialty. It was so good. Oh, it was like a black curry sauce. It was it's amazing. I gotta make it again. And it would
Cool.
like I would sit like in the fridge overnight in the flavors, and the chicken and stuff would just like, oh God, I gotta
Yum.
very yummy. Anyway, I don't know. I went to Albuquerque there. Completely went to Albuquerque there.
Getting us all hungry.
Yeah. What else do we want to talk about? Wow, it's an hour and a half here now, ish.
Sorry, I'm
Okay.
a
You know,
No, no, it's good. I'm having fun, but I also have to be cognizant. I wake up at 5 to go to work. So,
yeah.
um, what else do we want to talk about? Well, okay, so we covered Harley Quinn, your D&D, board games. What else do you geek out on?
What do I have around me? I keep my geek. Well, I like to craft. That is like this is one of my big geeky things here. This is like my pride. I'm gonna be all
Oh,
I
yes, the
oh,
hat.
this is my hat I made.
steampunk.
Only hat I ever made. And it's because I was lucky enough that a friend at work gave me this material that it's like dense and it can just be shaped into whatever you want and cut any way you want. And I literally just had to wrap it in a circle and put the rim and top on and sew it together. It was apparently he uses it in as a padding between leather. In leather working he does.
Okay.
And he had these scraps and he's like, here, you want to try to do something with these? I was like, yes, my hat. So yes, I get pretty nerdy about my hat. I love
Oh,
my hat.
very
Oh,
nice.
And
Very
usually
nice.
I have the hands moving, but right now they've fallen off. I have to replace those like once a year on the clock.
so is
Wow.
there going to be the rest of the costume to go with it at some point? Like, are you doing? So you put the
I
hat together, but are you doing like fabric stuff too, or
I do have a bunch of other stuff that kind of goes together that I build on year after year. Uh, Cables that go up my arms and stuff like that, and weird gloves and gold wires and weird stuff like that. And I have a thing that comes from the hat that I normally wear that kind of comes around and attaches to my glasses and sticks out, and there's like a little ring there. I pick up
or
garbage and make things out of it.
but I
I'm
like
a
that
Oh,
though.
garbage
sweet.
It's
picker at work. Yeah, I'm a garbage picker at work.
well, yeah, you're like I've always like my kids actually have they have these two jars, pretty big jars, and then what they do is when they find I don't know, it's crazy. They find something on the sidewalk. Well, that looks cool. And
Yeah.
they take it home, they put it in their junk jar, and they collect stuff all the time. It's just like, I don't know what this is, but it looks cool. I'm gonna take it.
Yeah,
Like,
why not?
you know,
It's
random
good
like
to have a little jar to put it in.
well, yeah. It's like, but I like that they're looking at things that are not typical. Like I don't know what this is. I'm taking this. I kind of like that they're, discovering things on their own,
Showing
you know.
interest.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know. If you know me at all, I'm totally enamored with my kids. Like I'm just in awe all the time of just the things they do or the things they say. Um, and we're going through a phase now where Abby's incredibly affectionate.
Hmm.
It's like just come up to you randomly, Dad, I had a good day today. Thanks so much. I love you. And it's like, oh, that I'm okay. Thank you. You know.
Yeah. Now
And
that
then
they're
the
all
other
grown
one,
up, we're trying to remember those days where it was all
yeah,
like, this was the best day ever.
Ellie was the affectionate one before, and now Ellie's become she gives you the side hug.
Ah.
I'm like, oh, hug your my mom, my or me and Todd's mom. Like she'll come over and see the kids, or we'll drop we'll go to her house, and Abby gives her a hug right away. Love you, Nana. Blah blah blah. And then Ellie's like, my mom's like, "Aren't you gonna give me a hug?" And then she's like, "No." And she said, "Yes, you're giving me a hug." So then she gave her the side hug, and my mom's like, "Well, that's cheap,"
Yeah.
you know.
It gypped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll remember that the next time you ask for a snack or something, I'm gonna make you pay in hugs or whatever. Yeah.
Got
Uh,
love.
yep. Yep. All right. Let's cap it off here. I think with this is a good note to end on love.
Well, thanks for having me. It was
Yeah,
nice.
this was a lot of fun. Actually, yeah, this was a lot of fun. I don't know.
I like
It was
talking.
good.
Just
Yeah.
talk random stuff. It's
That's I don't know. That's what we do. We're a podcast about nothing, as Todd always says. We're the Seinfeld of podcasts. We just meander and let things go where they go.
yeah.
Yep. So
Oh, music and nerdy stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. Send
Yeah.
people to you for music and nerdy stuff.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay, so plug yourself. Where do we find you?
Living Through Extinction on all the social medias. There's 10 of them I'm on, including Tribal, which I like. And yeah, podcast. It's science and skepticism. I've also kind of started saying science, skepticism, and activism. Is because I've realized that that's kind of comes with the skepticism. All my skeptical segments sound like I'm an activist or I'm
Yep.
activating for something. So science, skepticism, and activism.
I actually I just want to say thank you for putting the show up because for me, I'm too wrapped up in my kids and doing stuff with my kids that I'm not sometimes I'm in a bubble and I'm unaware of what's going on in the world because I'm maybe uber focused on my kids and I don't realize what's happening in the world and I'm naive. I think the world is a pretty place and everybody treats each other well and it's a open and inviting things. And then so you listening to your show, it's like, oh fuck, is this shit going on really? Like
I
this is a thing. So,
Ignorance is bliss.
it's good because I don't seek out bad news or bad headlines or I don't see, but I need to be aware of that stuff. So you're kind of like my filter for okay, Sean, you didn't know about this, but let me tell you, like that's what I feel like it is because it feels like you're talking to me. Like that's the gift that you have. It's like I'm there with you in the same room. Like it's like we're buddies. We're just talking. Like, and I like that. Like you're really good at it.
Thank you.
So
I
thank
didn't know
you.
if I'd be able to do it by myself when I first started, but I just went for it. Just talk about what I like, basically. Stuff that I'm interested in, stuff that gets me going.
Yeah,
Can't go wrong with that.
I like it when you get mad because when you get mad, you probably need to get mad, and we probably need to get mad too. It's like some of the shit you bring up, like that can't be real, and but it's like yeah, it is, and it's like I don't know, world's a fucked up place.
You know, in 2 episodes, I'm going to be ending off with a thing about a capybara who fosters puppies. So good
Oh,
stuff. Too.
nice.
That's going to be the positive in like 4 weeks.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There is, but I like the science stuff that you bring in. Like it's very positive. It's very like we're getting closer to a cure for this, or like I'm trying to remember the last. There was something about Alzheimer's that came up, and I got excited about that. And then there was just I don't know. It like
Yeah, there
you
has
are
been
bringing good stuff.
amazing progress and a lot of neat stuff lately. I like following that stuff. To me, those are positives. Like
Yeah.
finding out that CRISPR can like remove the AIDS DNA out of a cell.
Yes.
That's a positive. So I like talking about stuff like that too. I
Yeah.
like to end it with something like that because
Yeah.
sometimes what I talk about before it is kind of shitty. So
Yeah, there's good and there's bad, but yeah, I like you're hitting both sides, which is good. But God, you've been doing it for a while now. You're like a veteran.
four
You joined
years.
the
Hey.
yeah, joined the veterans club.
Yeah. About
We're
half what you've been doing.
what's that?
I'm about half what you've been doing.
Yeah,
You like eight
yeah.
years or
8
something like
years,
that?
yeah.
Yeah.
8 years. And the only reason the podcast started was because I was going through a really rough mental time. Like just mental health was not good. I was working night shift 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. I didn't have friends anymore because, well, we're on opposite clocks, so I didn't see friends at all. Yeah, it was depressing. So it was like I was pretending I was talking to my friends doing the podcast when I started. And then eventually I got a real job, a proper job, where I wasn't working that dumb shift. And then yeah. There's my buddy.
Yeah, he likes to say hi every once in a while.
Remind people who the mascot is. That's what he's doing.
That's awesome.
He loves Todd. It's like
a mountain lion. I'm the mountain. He just likes to climb on top.
Well, you're pretty tall.
Oh, true.
We're a mountain. All right. Well, thanks, Ruby, for doing this. Really appreciate it.
I thank you for having me. I had fun. I'm going to sign off with another Harley Quinn.
Yay.
She's black and white.
Sweet.
Focus. She won't focus. Ah, she's my favorite but she won't focus.
I like that one. Sylvie's a big Harley Quinn fan too. So it was like, I'll have to show her that stuff.
Final Vixens.
Yep.
Hey, you guys have the night.
Yeah, you too.
And best of luck. And I love your show as well.
Thank you.
And I'll see you at the next podcast meeting.
Yes, for sure.
For sure.
Awesome. All right.
Good night.
Later.
Bye. Night.
We are Dome.
Woo.
That's good. So you guys having a good time?
Yeah.
Are you drinking enough beer? Terrible. No one's drinking beer. Someone's drinking beer at the back. This song is a song about infamy. It's called Be Famous! you very much. Thank you very much.